In their ongoing quest to prove to the world why they consistently finish third out of three in the cable news race, with ratings that are regularly eclipsed by the 24-hour Dick Van Dyke channel, CNN recently had their host Brian Stelter hold a fascinating conversation with a man whose abusive sexual behavior had landed him in hot water up until the moment he decided to start identifying as a woman named Charlotte Clymer.
It's a what a coincidence moment.
And that duo's big concern? That the LGBTQ community has been unjustly caught up in the right's ongoing culture war. Now, to understand just how confused and absurd this all is, imagine Brian Stelter having a conversation with Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto in the days just after Pearl Harbor, asking the question how it is that the Japanese Empire came to be embroiled in Pacific conflict. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the people who have been dropping bombs all over an unsuspecting and passive culture for the last 50 years, how they suddenly became caught up in an ongoing war. They started it, Brian. Now, of course, Brian understands this. He just assumes that you don't. You see, this is the tired strategy that all of the elites and media and progressive culture, they come to believe is so coy and cunning that the rest of us just don't perceive it. The San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus goes out and sings,
"We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for
Rational people react to that and say, you can leave my kids alone. And Brian and his progressive media pals rush onto television to ask why everyone is so homophobic. Disney announces their new company policy to...
We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads.
Rational people react to that and say, I'm pretty sure we're just not going to buy Disney content anymore. And progressive media goes out and immediately starts blasting away at the right's Disney freakout. Transgender activists go out and begin demanding a new and incredibly stupid public lexicon that includes new terms like chest feeding, gestator, and birthing people. Rational people scoff and say, no, pretty sure we're going to stick with woman and mom and breastfeeding since that's what it is. And the progressive media clutches their pearls and begins lamenting the transphobia enveloping society. MSNBC runs a sob story on a gay teacher who's been deprived the ability to discuss gender and sexual topics with kindergartners.
It scares me to death that I'm not going to be able to have these conversations with my children.
Rational people react to that and say, well, first of all, they're not your kids, they're our kids. And we're paying you to teach them colors and shapes, so go find someone else to affirm your home life. And the progressive media pretends that that is somehow erasing LGBT identities. And on it goes. Time and again, left-wing activists, whether they're cultural or political or social or religious or sexual, they launch a visceral, unrelenting, multi-front attack on society's norms and standards. But it only becomes controversial, and it only becomes a culture war when the rest of us say, yeah, I'm not on board with that. So let's just make something perfectly clear to all the progressive media types who may be listening in. We know the game. You aren't fooling anybody, and you haven't for a long time. You can call us culture warriors for responding to 50 years of unrelenting Pearl Harbor attacks on the things that we value, if you want to. But it's clear that the alternative that you offer us isn't a truce, it's surrender. And I can guarantee you that those terms are 100% unacceptable.